The Roman Empire, a colossal ancient civilization, spanning Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East, the empire was renowned for its military might, engineering feats, and cultural contributions. Its once great power is still visible today. The Roman Empire had a succession of emperors, each contributing to its complex history. From Augustus, the first emperor, who established the Principate, to the 5 good emperors like Trajan and Hadrian known for stability and prosperity. While some Roman emperors exhibited positive qualities such as leadership, military prowess, and administrative skills, but that's not what this video is about. There have been many Roman emperors that are told to be the worst and the cruelest, like Emperor Caligula, who started to present himself as a god, while his palace was described as a brothel, among the alleged mistresses his own sisters. Or Nero killed his mother so that he could remarry, by divorcing and then executing his first wife. But if we are talking about weirdest, then there is one who stands out from the rest. Elagabalus is probably the weirdest Roman emperor, also evil but most defiantly the weirdest. Elagabalus served as a Roman emperor from 218 to 222, a time that significantly impacted his placement on the list of worst emperors. A member of the Severan dynasty. Ancient historians put Elagabalus on the worst emperors along Caligula, Nero, and Vitellius. Elagabalus's besetting sin was not as murderous as the others, but rather simply acting in a manner ill-befitting an emperor. Elagabalus instead behaved as a high priest of an exotic and alien god. Some report that he worked as a prostitute, set up a brothel in the palace, and may have sought to become the first transsexual, stopping just short of self-castration in his pursuit of extra weirdness. So what did Elagabalus do? He threw giant sex parties every night. Dressed like a woman and paraded himself around Rome. The Romans were not pleased with that at all. Sent imperial agents out to find men with the largest penises to appoint them to high-ranking political positions. And was been even told to have been eagerly lured in passers-by at his doorstep. He would booby-trap people so when they sat a large pile of flowers would fall on them. His name Elagabalus is related to his previous job of being the high priest for the god Elgabal. Elagabalus cared for more for this priesthood than being emperor. He passed a series of religious reforms aimed at making Elgabal the primary god of Rome. The many marriages of Elagabalus. Despite many rumors being dismissed as mere hearsay, there are several historical records that document Elagabalus's multiple marriages, despite being only a teenager. Shockingly, he managed to marry 5 queens in a short lifetime. One of these queens was Iulia Aquilia Severa, a temple priestess, and the other was Annia Aurelia Faustina, whose husband was executed by Elagabalus to facilitate the marriage. As a result of his cruel behavior, people began to dislike him even more. Elagabalus rode strange chariots and gave animals as gifts. The Historia Augusta, a compilation of biographies of Roman emperors from the 4th century AD, recounts an unusual coronation ceremony of Elagabalus. It is said that he did not toss gold and silver coins to the crowds but preferred to distribute livestock such as cattle, camels, and donkeys because he believed it was more regal. He also had a fondness for chariots pulled by animals other than horses. In one instance, he even rode on 4 African elephants, which trampled over the tombs of several dignitaries on the way to the palace. Elagabalus's feasts were stranger than his rides, which featured only one type of guest, whether they were bald, short, or overweight. He also enjoyed playing practical jokes on his guests, such as serving them food made of wax and stone while he ate the real food. It's a shame that cameras were not around to capture these moments. Despite his eccentricities, Elagabalus was not popular with the people and was killed, along with his mother, by his own bodyguards at the young age of 18. Lifestyle of extreme sexual behavior. One writer, Cassius Dio, reported that Elagabalus would paint their eyes, shave their body hair, use cosmetics to enhance their looks, and wear wigs, before prostituting themselves in Rome's taverns and brothels. It is claimed that they set aside a room in the palace specifically for their orgiastic gatherings. They would allegedly stand naked at the door soliciting passers-by, who had been selected by the emperor's agents for their willingness to please them and call them mistress. Elagabalus often awarded senatorial and military positions as well as roles in the palace to men they had sexual relations with. In one case they appointed a male dancer as prefecture of the guards, and a charioteer called Gordius was given prefect of the watch. Some of the more bizarre appointments included putting a barber in charge of the city's grain supply. Although possibly mythical, it was alleged Elagabalus bestowed influential positions based on the size of a man's genitals. Extravagance and degeneracy. His extravagances and cruelty knew no bounds. Supposedly, at one banquet he is said to have murdered his dinner guests by suffocating them under a mountain of rose petals. Once he ordered a servant to fetch him a big packet of cobwebs, and when the unfortunate man turned up empty-handed, he had him locked up in a cage and eaten alive by hundreds of starving rats. Elagabalus loved to pin his enemies to the wall and stick hot pokers into them, peel their skin off and dip them in salt. Rumor had it he was a masochist as well and liked to have his lovers beat the living daylights out of him. At one extravagant banquet, 600 ostriches were butchered and served at tables merely for their brains to be eaten. Like the infamous Caligula, the teenage Elagabalus was obsessed with wealth and lavished money on the richest of ornaments and precious jewels. The inglorious end. The legions became dismayed by Elagabalus' debauched lifestyle and quickly came to regret having supported his accession. Their grandmother saw that her grandchild's popularity was on the wane with a Praetorian guard, and with another younger grandson in mind to replace Elagabalus, she took her cue to rid the empire of them. Elagabalus managed to flee with their mother, Julia Soaemius Bassiana, but they were eventually found by guards in a chest and viciously slain while clinging to each other. Both were decapitated on the spot. After being stripped naked, their bodies were dragged through the streets of Rome. The headless body of Elagabalus was thrown into the river Tiber. The slaughter continued as those closely associated with the despised former leader were killed, including their lover Heracles. Elagabalus' religious edicts were reversed and women were once again barred from attending meetings at the Senate. Thank you for watching until the end. Remember to like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this in the future.